All right, good morning. I'm going to call this meeting to order. It's the Police Station Construction Committee meeting, Wednesday, March 18th, 2020. Under the new town hall protocols, we have remote participants, and we have Martha Taylor is on the line, and Zell Zodnik. Am I saying that correctly, Zell? Zonzik from Contracts. All right, good morning, everybody. I hope everybody's feeling well. Why don't we go to our meeting packet, and if you turn to tab 1, it is the minutes from the March 4th, 2020 meeting. I apologize in advance for the lateness of getting this out to you last night. It's just how the clock ran out.
Fine. Thank you for getting it out to us at all. It's a big job.
Okay, do we have any questions?
I changed the header. Actually, after I sent it to you, I said, oh, geez, did I change that?
No, it's, we're in an industry of cut and paste,
Absolutely.
thank God. All right, do we have a motion?
Make a motion to accept the meeting minutes of March 4th, 2020.
A second?
Oh, second, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I thought you said-
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I think we have to take a roll.
Oh, okay, so roll call. Bob Connors votes aye.
John Keller votes aye.
Mike Riley votes aye.
And Martha votes aye.
Okay. Unanimous.
Somebody just come on.
Yeah,
Morning, everybody. Eric, sir.
Oh,
Okay,
hey,
Eric.
Hey. Hi, Eric.
Eric, good morning. We just went through, we just finished up tab 1, which was the minutes from the March 4th meeting. Okay. So Eric, what we're going to do on all motions, we're going to call a roll call. That's been a recommendation. So as we proceed, we'll just follow that. Okay, if you turn to tab 2. Tab 2 is payment requisition number 3 for BC Construction. The first document in your packet is the letter of recommendation for payment of $124,075.70. It's been signed off by Zell, and everything appears to be in order. Do we have a motion?
Move that we pay the invoices as approved.
Okay, a second?
I second.
All right, any discussion? Eric, did you have a chance, I had sent the pencil rec the full, everyone got a full copy of the payment requisition. I didn't bother to print it, add it to our meeting packet. Do you have any questions, Eric?
Not at this time, not for the work that's been done or today.
Yeah. Martha, how about yourself? Any questions?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay. All right. All those in favor, say aye. Bob Connors, yes.
John Keller, yes.
Mike Riley, yes.
Martha Taylor, yes.
Eric Swan, yes.
Thank you.
Bob, in that package, I put the full package in that.
No, that's fine.
Or,
Just not to print another 22 pages
No.
for our meeting.
no, didn't think you need that, but that's,
Okay.
that way Ellen has it in the record files.
Okay. So, team, the 3 of us present are going to sign this payment rec. Martha or Eric, if you could stop by at some point if you're coming in to sign that, then that can be released to procurement for payment and review.
Where will it be?
I'll pull it on Eileen's desk.
Okay, I don't know if we can get,
Martha will be here at some point, either
Yeah, on
today.
Eileen's desk or Ellen's desk?
but can we get in?
Ellen's desk.
Do you have a key to get in there?
Yeah, Martha, I don't right now, but I'll take it with me because I have a meeting anyway I have to make. So,
Well, what we can do, Martha, you know, we're gonna be here for the construction meeting at 8:30.
yeah.
So by
then,
that
Tracy,
time, yeah.
somebody will be here. So
Okay.
Should be good.
So,
I won't be
Yeah,
able to
Mike-
make it after lunch.
okay.
We just need one more signature to have 4 on it, which I think will be,
So is Martha, you planning on being here this morning for anything?
Yes, I'm actually here now, I'm downstairs.
Oh, okay.
But, so I can coordinate with Mike
Yeah.
and get it, and I'll sign it.
okay, great. All right, why don't we move on to tab 3. All right, we keep hearing about hot lists. The architect has a hot list, the contractor has a hot list. So I decided that the committee needed a hot list to manage all the hot lists. So, Zell, you trained us well. Okay, so there's 15 items on this list. Payment requisition number 3, that's been received and obviously approved. Number 2, supporting letter of recommendation by Vertex has been received, it's been approved. Okay, PCO 4, the helical drilling, that is the potential change order for additional work that was done. Do we have an update on where we stand on that, or are we still waiting for a global approach to soil improvements?
So my recommendation is that we wait to receive the parking lot area ground improvements cost. I did speak with Mike Cresta about this Monday. Hold on, losing track of my days. Must have been yesterday morning I spoke to Mike about this. He expected to be able to provide an update prior to this meeting. I did not hear from him later yesterday. He understands that that's the approach, no different, and doesn't have the information submitted yet, but his engineer is in town and working on it. I still recommend waiting. We don't want to negotiate and then get another change submitted as soon as we finish negotiating.
Okay, any other comment? Zell, so your office hasn't seen any submittals from the engineer giving you a sketch or a?
Nothing today.
Okay. All right, so PCO number 4 remains open, an open item. Okay, PCO 7, data room, report room swap.
So this, this item, we did receive yesterday? Yesterday?
Yeah, it came in, it's not in your packet, team. It was sent as, you got the whole, came as a forwarded document from Jeff Vincent.
So it's completely different from what BC Construction was anticipating. Though they did acknowledge they did not have all their subcontractor figures in yet. So the pricing for the electrical is significantly higher than anything they had predicted. So just having received this yesterday, we'll work through the numbers to get a better understanding of where these costs are, or what the backup and support may be for them, and be able to provide a recommendation once we get further input.
All right, Chief, you,
I move we table it until we get a recommendation from Steve, and
Okay.
once we have a recommendation, we'll discuss it.
what I'll do, I'll just keep that an open item on the hot list. So in 2 weeks, we'll revisit the status and that.
Excellent.
Okay. Martha, any questions?
No, I don't think so. The electrical seems extremely high on that. So who's going to be reviewing it? Steve, will you be the one, or Steve and Dell?
We are all reviewing it. Our consultants, our engineers are also reviewing it. And so it will take a little while to assemble everybody's comments and for us to get back to Steve about what our what our version of this is. One of the things we noted right away and responded to BC was regarding the fact that no
Sal, are you saying that the way that PCO should come is that we should show existing work being credited and new work being added, so we can see both segments and then the net effect?
Yes, that's usually the way it's done
Especially on this
for
type of scope.
this kind of change. And I did have some discussions with Jeff Vicente. He sort of implied that they're just, they've gone through that exercise for their own work, the GC portion of the work, and they sort of, they didn't spell it out, but they said that they considered it and that they are giving us a good deal on the additional work of their portion. But we have no knowledge that that's the case from the subs yet. We'll see how the review goes and see what information that our engineers might have also.
Eric, any comments on PCO 7?
It seems high, but, electrical numbers are coming in wacky, but still, I think that's the right approach, is to have them spell it out a little bit more and test it. And Dell, if there's a way to prompt them as to what might be a credit, that sometimes it's helpful to do to let them know that you already know what you're looking at.
Yeah, our engineers are pretty good about actually spotting that stuff from their end. Obvious items that may need to be credited. They usually think of those things. That's why I say that we want to let them take a look at it and get their responses before we formulate our response for the whole thing. We'll have to wait for them.
Yeah, my take on this is that I envision the existing room to be drywalled, taped, painted, sanded, no acoustical ceiling. What I'm confused is that $3,500 for fire protection, would this not have had a sprinkler head in there, Zell, and they're adding that, or?
I think every room has to, doesn't it?
Because the sprinklers have to be revised, and the piping has to be changed, and I don't know whether there's additional sprinkler, there may be, there's additional ones upstairs, I'm sure, in the attic.
Oh, okay, then that's part of what we're losing track of too, is that,
Yeah, there is work up
Wouldn't the attic already be sprinkled though?
the extra component.
if you create a separate room, you have to, if you added a separate closet, it would have to have a head in it.
Probably have uprights, but if you build spaces, you need
Yeah,
headers
okay,
also.
I-
Pendants.
Was already up in the attic, the radio closet was already there. It's
Right.
being moved over, and the communications room is being expanded to fit the network. So it's really not a significant, but because.
Seems like a lot of money for that much room. $3,800.
Runs were before, and they compare it to what it is now, and if there's additional piping and if there's additional sprinkler heads, they just charge for it on their rates. But again, we have yet to see what credits are possible here, and so I think that may have some impact on this, in the end.
Yeah, their quote says additional sprinkler head and branch
I'll close with that. I think BC Construction is doing this at cost or just barely covering cost with their labor rate, creating the chases and so on. So, all right, so we'll leave PCO 7 will be left open. Okay, moving on to item number 5. At last week's construction meeting, the RFI 27 and 31 were on the hot list for BC Construction, as I recall. Zell, could you just bring us up to
Yeah.
speed where we're at on those two?
Only 27 were questions from the steel manufacturer, their shop, on some of the questions that they had on the steel shop drawings. And we had responded, and it turns out that during that process, we omitted some responses from our engineers that should have been included, because we reviewed the whole thing again. And it was a glitch. We literally didn't attach their comments when we returned it. So we reissued, we talked to Masood, and we reopened the RFI. We reissued all of the engineer's comments, plus we clarified all of our comments, and we believe that this is now completed and everything should be fine.
Okay.
That's the status of 27.
On 31, what's the status of that, Zell?
31, we were waiting last week for McPhail to comment, and we found out that Chris was on vacation, and he wasn't going to be back until Monday. Zach informed us that there was no way that they could have the official response from this week. And then I spoke to Zach yesterday because we still haven't gotten their response, and it turned out that Chris, in lieu of flying back from his vacation, he wound up driving for 2 days, coming back, and they just addressed it last night. I received their response, and we will formally respond to it today. Essentially, I don't know if you're familiar with the question that came up. They're raising the question, they're basically saying that the design for the retaining wall needs to be changed based on that the geopiers that are supporting it may not be, because of the way that that's designed, the generic design build details for the retaining wall only showed a crushed stone footing for the segmented block wall, and basically our response is that because both items, both the geopier support system and the segmented block retaining wall are both design build items that the contractor was contracted for. They should have coordinated between the two, and they should have designed either the geopiers to properly support the wall, or revise the design of the retaining wall to suit the geopiers, one or the other. And so it's a combination of design build items that they both own, and they need to work it out. They shouldn't be asking us to do it for them. That's going to be our response, basically.
So, Zell, if I look at this, it would seem to me what we're using for a design specification for the footing of the building, being that we already have a dimension and the steel, associated steel, that would be adequate from a design standpoint, probably overkill. But I mean, obviously, our goal here is to continue to move the project forward. And what we're gonna ask the design team to do is, if you get an RFI and it has a question, please answer the question and then refer them to the section and page of the plan, so that we eliminate going back and forth on what the issue is. I know many times it's just turn to page 7, see, blah, blah, but we're very concerned at the town level with supply chain delays and any other potential interruptions that we know we're going to be faced with, so we really want to be able to provide as quick as we can answers to any questions.
Right.
So we'll leave, so the status of RFI 31 is open. We can address that at our construction meeting. All right, item 6, ground improvement submittal, rear parking lot status, that remains open. We covered that when we were talking about the helical drilling status. So Steve, you'll just keep us updated. We'll leave this on our hot list.
Yes.
Okay, concrete foundation work. Dave, on your 2-week look ahead, what's the start date of that?
It was, without opening it up, Bob, I believe it was the 19th. They're gonna mobilize tomorrow, which is the 19th, weather permitting.
Okay, so Monday the 23rd is when they're actually pouring footing, so,
Yeah. North Atlantic expects to have crew on site tomorrow,
okay,
setting form boards and beginning placement of rebar.
okay,
Weather forecast is disappointing,
yeah.
but they expect to work, those guys working on it. So we'll have some production tomorrow on form work. Friday we'll ramp up. They may even get a pour in on Friday.
Mhm.
And that's to be discussed. Well, Chris and I have talked about that, and we'll talk about that again today.
Okay.
But yeah.
So concrete
So there is-
foundation work is,
Exactly.
it's
Right.
underway. The rebar is on site, and they'll start forming tomorrow on the footings.
Correct.
All right. Framing, mobilization, start date, duration. Have you heard much? I haven't.
No, other than, but it dovetails in with one of your other hot list items, Bob, site excavations and utilities.
Yeah,
That
those are
progresses
underway.
well, yeah, that progresses well. I believe the Newburyport Water Company will be doing the tap today.
Okay.
So that's already, the pavement's cut, the excavation is prepared. Pelchat will be back in force today after having to lay off because of our test, our geo testing yesterday on site. So yeah, underground utilities progress, I think really without incident. They're focused on the water line for the rest of the week, getting the tap in, getting the street taken care of, and then advancing on site. And they'll get the second catch basin in for the parking lot. First one was placed Monday.
Great. Okay, item number, let me stop for a minute. Any question, Martha?
No, not at this time, thanks.
Okay, Eric, how about you? Any questions at this time?
No, I'm good.
All right. So if we go to item number, oh, excuse me, Shane.
So do we have an answer on number 8? Not that it's a ways out still. The framing.
Ongoing is what I.
Yeah,
Yeah.
ongoing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, and the only thing I'll add to that is, we're on schedule, or as far as the 2-week look ahead goes, we're picking up days here now.
Good,
On a
good.
regular basis, right?
Part of this, John, is these 15 items kind of work.
Yes.
These are actually for the construction meeting, but it's good to have. We can go over it. It gives everybody some insight on where we're at. So item number 10 is the retaining wall footing rebar submittal status. We went over that discussing RFI 31, so we can move on. All right, item 11, exterior finishes, colors, sample board. So we had talked last week about trying to get a palette of colors fully knowing that your formal sample board will be of the exact finishes that have been proposed and selected. Can you give us an update on that?
Well, we're still waiting for all of the material samples to arrive. Masood is supposed to be getting the rest of them and bringing them to the job site today. However, I don't know if he'll have them all. There are still a number that were missing, colors, important ones. And until such time that we have all of them, we can't put together a color palette, a proposed color palette for you to review. So, hopefully he'll have the rest of the balance of them today. If not, I'm sure he's made a point of trying to wrap it up and get them all to us. So, I'm sure it'll be done this week sometime. So if that's the case, we can then proceed, put together proposed color palettes for the exterior.
Okay, just looking at the flurry of submittals yesterday, it looked like you should have received what appears to be the whole exterior envelope package for finishes.
Well,
The
yeah,
paperwork
the
anyways.
submittals, we still have to get the physical samples and,
How are we going to arrange that? Do you want them to send this to your office, or does that become
no, the office is closed.
problematic?
Come out to the job site at some point.
Okay,
Maybe even later today, and pick up if he's delivered them. However, I don't think we still have a roof shingle submitted.
now you're right, that's the one thing we didn't see, but
That should be the easiest.
but you have I mean, I think the point that I'm looking for and the committee's looking for is, we're in the dark of what the actual colors you're thinking of, whether it's a gray roof, blue trim, red windows, knowing that each manufacturer has their own color options.
And this is why we intentionally wait until we have all of the actual colors that are actually being supplied, because to make a preliminary color scheme and then try to match it with what is being actually submitted and installed can be a very disappointing process. It's better to actually utilize the real color samples that are actually going to be installed so that we have no issues, so that everybody's on board with what the color scheme is. And I never see it as being a problem in terms of schedule. There's usually time to make that decision before materials are ordered. So I don't see that as being integral to the schedule, really. I think we have time to do that.
Not much.
Yeah, that was my question is, was this on a critical path or, what is the timing needed for this?
It is very critical for pre-releasing of windows, siding packages that are coming pre-painted from the factory.
I think the
Yeah.
driver here is the Pella Windows, because they don't want the order until they have the color too.
Well, you can't order the siding until you pick that up. I mean, well, so we'd appreciate it if this becomes fast track. I'm confused. I think you'd rather know up front that we don't want a white shingle roof versus, or we don't want blue siding, or we don't want gray trim. It's, but
Yeah, I totally understand, and yes,
So-
as soon as we have the pieces, we will assemble. I mean, usually we try to do one or two possible schemes if we feel two schemes are actually worthwhile to consider. Sometimes, the intention is to have the building. I mean,
items 12 through 15 will either be picked up on the upcoming tabs within our packet or really addressed for the upcoming construction meeting following this. So if we turn to tab 4, it's been a while since we have provided a written committee update to the Board of Selectmen. So prior to all of the current coronavirus protocols, the thought was to present something to the Board of Selectmen at the first meeting of April, or excuse me, their last meeting of March, and to give them an update. So this would be the proposed cover. The tabs, I'll be honest with you, basically it's the content of our March 4th meeting packet. The only thing that will be updated will probably be tab 7, project schedule update, because we'll have a cleaner update. But I thought it would be worthwhile to walk the Board of Selectmen through how we're addressing PCOs and what our process has been. So if you turn to the draft letter, it's dated March 18th. It covers project administration, change orders, project schedule. I have added a bullet just identifying that the coronavirus may very well result in a construction schedule or supply chain delays. I think we have to be realistic that we're in unknown territory of what impacts and for how long this will have on the project. Certainly concrete and framing lumber will be readily available for the moment, but hence the urgency on getting any early decisions on colors so we can release other contents. So any comments or concerns?
No, I thought this looked good, thanks, Bob.
Okay. If, with everyone's permission, give me some creative license to update. I want to just double check all my numbers to make sure that my arithmetic is correct, or any other transitional errors, just to clean up. But I think it's helpful to the board, it's helpful to the public to get an update from us from time to time. So I'll proceed with that. When I assemble that, I'll send it out all electronically to you, and you'll be able to review, and then I'll present it to the board. I'll have to talk to Chairman Colby or Tracy Blaze, our town administrator, to see how they're handling their 4th meeting of March. So that may get pushed back, but that was kind of where we're coming from. If you turn to tab 5, you have the 2-week look-ahead schedule provided by BC Construction. Dave, why don't you just walk us through this? It looks good.
Yes. Yes, I looked at this yesterday, Bob, and realistically, this will all happen. This is.
So this is accurate, real time?
This is accurate, real time.
Yeah. Hey team, you know what, I want to back up. We probably should have a formal vote on approving the draft to the Board of Selectmen where it's a report of the committee. So do we have a motion to accept the proposed committee update?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Bob Connors, yes.
John Keller, yes.
Mike Riley, yes.
Martha Taylor, yes.
Eric Klein, yes.
Okay, thank you, team. Okay. Any questions on the 2-week look ahead? Certainly this is weather driven to some point.
Plans are being out for
do they survey? Do you-
Not entirely certain, Eric, there's certainly gonna be some interior layout for more footings and haunches and
Column
stuff.
location.
Column locations, yeah.
Footing.
And are they hiring an independent to put pins on the footings for the walls?
Yeah, they
Oh,
agreed,
yeah.
Reed
Okay.
Surveying has been doing that.
Some companies like to do that, they don't
Yeah.
do it in-house, they'll pin the footings.
I would think that that's probably primarily what they're doing after the footing is poured, located in the corners of the building, along with everything else. But,
All right, that ain't correct.
okay. Any other questions on the 2-week look ahead?
Nope.
Okay. Moving on to tab 6. Mike Crester had sent out a project schedule of,
One question, Bob.
yes,
So, all this stuff with big trucks that come and have gravel and stuff, when does supplies start hitting the site, like framing and things that need to be stored, so that we know, how is that tracked and documented, just to understand when that arrives and is received? Is there any issue with that, or do we have any concerns, or?
well, we discussed it, Eric, at last week's meeting. And one of the things that BC Construction, they wanted to be able to take delivery of all their framing materials one drop. The committee discussed talking to the fire department about temporarily moving back the construction fence, separating the site and the fire department parking, that it would be in line with the fence behind the trailer to give them a little extra room. I would think the 2-week look-ahead schedule that we'll get today, or it's on our hot list to ask about when they're gonna start framing. So we'll probably have a better answer for that at our next meeting. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, so. On tab 6, Mike Crester had prepared this, actually I found it very helpful, it just gave us kind of a running schedule of what has transpired and how quickly. So that's just FYI for the committee. But I have to say it's been, the amount of work and the coordination of the work on site's been impressive. Any questions on the project schedule update? Martha?
No, not at this time, thanks.
Okay, Eric?
No, I'm not, any questions at this time.
Thank you. All right, tab 7. It's been a while since we've actually looked at our estimate of probable cost. So what I've done is this is still work in progress, so please feel free to give me feedback. We've kind of consolidated some of the original line items, and we've created subtotals that actually should match our board update. One thing I have to work on is under FF&E, it only adds up to $505,000, not $550,000. So I think I've transposed a number there that I'll have to update. I've created a column of unallocated, and they were line items that we've been carrying as placeholders that we have not used. And I already see an error here. Okay. All right. So, the estimate of probable cost, construction cost, have remained the same. We haven't, requisition number 3 didn't show any change orders as of yet. And we know we have a couple there that have offset. So, 6.4 million, 18,301 is still the project construction number. Professional services, We have 1,007,500. If you look at line 13, we have Tel Data and Security Consultant that we've been carrying $20,000. From my vantage point, I don't see us, I see that as being unallocated, as it's already included in the design plans. So I've moved that out there just so we have some idea what might be available, what savings we have. Under furniture, finishes, and equipment, the total is $505,000. I apologize, I have $50,000 that we moved over to the unallocated column. It should have been on line 23. Not line 24. I've got to move that up, but it remains the same.
Right, okay, all right.
Okay, where it's blank on line 23, that should have just moved over a couple of boxes. So I'll adjust that. Hence, Martha, why you're correcting my home when it's work in progress. I already put that in there. Project-related expenses, line 31, we've been carrying $35,000 for utility fees and back charges. I'm unaware of any pending or proposed. Dave, Steve, have you?
No National Grid or gas or electric.
So
So this moment,
So the total project budget is still $8,296,801, of which we've created an unallocated amount of $105,000.
I do have one question back up under FF&E, allowance for dispatch equipment. Do we have a figure for that line, 21?
No, because we're reusing all our existing equipment.
Okay, all of it? Okay, I'm sorry, I'm probably behind the times on that.
Where is the charge for relocating it and setting it up?
That's a good question.
And that's usually what TCS does,
Yeah.
so we may need some of this analysis.
Well, yeah, I mean, so we have 321,000 as a reserve, and potentially 105,000 that will be available.
Yeah.
Has the FF&E, has line 19 and 20 been vetted?
No, those are still just placeholders at this point, Eric.
Right, so we're gonna run a room schedule, and then the chief, you were gonna check to see what furniture was gonna be transferred, what rooms needed new, and then we could reassess those budget numbers.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah. There certainly could be upwards of 50% of that we're going to be able to move into the unallocated column, or, does anyone have a better heading for that column than unallocated? It's all I could think of at 9:30 last night.
Unencumbered?
Okay.
Unencumbered?
Sure. Do we want to make a motion, have a roll call, or?
No, I think what you did is fine.
Okay. Well, I think you get the drift. I think that's what we kind of want to work on. And again, Steve, what happens is that 105 can get offset to any one of the line items that might be light, without reaching into contingency.
And you can do like in some jobs, you can just move it into contingency and increase that.
Yeah.
Until you can reallocate it somewhere else.
So team, that concludes the meeting packet. So next meeting, we've been scheduled to meet on the first and third Wednesdays of the month, so our proposed next meeting would be Wednesday, April 1. We are still considering, again, to have a groundbreaking on Wednesday, April 8th, which I'll need to post a meeting for that because of quorum conflicts.
potentially on this COVID-19 thing, should keep that pretty flexible.
Yeah,
because
no, I think, you know what it is, we, Board of Selectmen decide all this, Mike. We'll keep our schedule, they can push it back.
Right.
Then our second meeting of April would be April 15th. What I'm gonna suggest we do is, why don't we skip the April 1st meeting, and we'll post April 8th and April 15th,
Okay.
okay? And if the groundbreaking gets delayed, we'll cancel that, we'll just cancel that meeting and we'll go with the 15th of the month, which should align with payment recs and everything else.
Hopefully, we'll have the ground improvements item
Yeah,
wrapped up, so we're ready to have a discussion with the committee by the 8th. So hopefully, we'll be ready by then,
yeah.
instead of any later than that.
Well, I'll post these 3 meeting notices. Actually, we won't post, we'll just post the 8th and the 15th.
Yeah.
We will not post the 1st. All right, that's all I have. Why don't we go around the table? John, any words of wisdom, concerns, comments?
No, nothing here. I mean, it's great to see that they're moving swiftly and on the site and keeping things rolling. Mike said he would make it up, and it sounds like we see some good start.
Chief?
I've had several complaints over the past week, so I just want to get them out there. First was delivering of materials and delivering equipment at very early hours. So the neighborhood was not very happy with dropping off equipment at 4 a.m. Even though the construction and the work didn't start until after 7, just the noise from the trucks and things. And you know what? I understand why we did it, and I don't blame them, but I can't complain with the neighborhood. That's a legitimate complaint.
Absolutely. And
Anything like that in the future, if anything's going to be delivered beforehand, let me know, and we'll make arrangements like to have the truck park out on Morgan Ave someplace or in front of the police station or something, so we're not disturbing the neighborhood. 4 a.m. was a little extreme. You get into the 6 a.m., 6:30 a.m., you know, as long as it's not a regular thing, those type of things, I'm sure the neighborhood can be reasonable, but they complain for 4 a.m. and 4:15 a.m. Those are
certainly,
legit complaints.
absolutely unacceptable. I mean, we get why, but
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think the good thing is we're not going to have a machine of that size back on site, but we'll bring that up at our construction meeting.
Yep.
It's one of the hot list items.
Yeah, that's pretty common, and I assume it was helical delivery.
Right.
That's pretty standard for the big site contractors. They start rolling at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
They start
I'm
rolling.
sure they wanted to
But
get
it's in
out
the
of
city,
Boston,
where
get out of the
it's
city,
commercial.
miss the traffic and all that stuff, and I understand.
Well, and they're oversized vehicles,
Yeah.
but to the point is, we'll go over this, that if it becomes an ongoing problem, then the site can't be unlocked till 7 o'clock, so.
And I don't think it will. I mean, when I talked to Chris about it, he was fantastic.
I think BC is right on top of this. Pelchet has been great.
And the other complaint I did have, I had a resident from Graham Ave, which is Morgan Ave, and then a couple of houses deep, and then Graham Ave is the next parallel street. And she called about the vibrations, and I'm sure it was from the helicoil machine, and she was worried about damage to her residence. And I asked her to put it in an email form, bullet point it, and I would read it verbatim at the
Right.
building committee meeting, and then we can discuss it, because I'm a police guy, I don't know any of this stuff, so. Chief Riley has promised, here are the bullet points I'm hoping you can address during the next construction meeting, Wednesday, March 18th. First bullet point, Graham Ave residents are having concerns of structural damage to their homes caused by vibrations originating from the Newbury Police Department's construction site on Morgan Ave. We are requesting the same neighborhood communication plan that was provided to Morgan Ave residents be made available to the residents of Graham Ave. I believe when we did the initial code red to the whole neighborhood, I thought Graham Ave was included. I thought we went 2 streets
Sure.
deep on everything. I'll double check with that, because if we didn't, then that's my mistake, and I will include them in any further communications. But I thought we did. I'll double check that though. The second, we also request that professional engineers on the project provide documentation supporting their decision not to implement seismic monitoring. Furthermore, we would like to understand if and to what extent Graham Ave was considered in this analysis. I don't know the first thing about seismic monitoring, and I could not speak intelligently about it, so I told her I would bring it up at the building committee and the construction committee meetings, and you guys can hash that out, and whatever you come up with, I will respond to her. And then lastly, we respectfully ask that Graham Ave residents be included in all future neighborhood communication plans to maintain transparency. That's a given. We will make that happen, and you know, I don't foresee any more code red messages going out. We did the initial one, but I will have things posted on our website, and I'll make sure Susan posts stuff on the town website as far as what to expect. Maybe even start looking at the 2-week look ahead. These are the types of equipment to expect on the job site type thing, just to make it so they can have easy access to see things. And I'm open to any other suggestions as to how to respond to her. She was extremely concerned, so.
Do we have a lot of old foundations over along those areas, like stone foundations?
I don't know.
Fair amount, typical of what you'd expect. I mean, that neighborhood dates back to the late 1800s, 1895 or something, the subdivision we have.
So are we expecting a lot more machinery
The
that'll cause
worst is
vibration?
over.
I wanted to tell her that, but I didn't want to tell her that because I don't know.
That is, what has happened last week with Helical in that rig is, that's the biggest rig that will come and go, that's the most commotion.
All right.
Those truckers rarely tell anybody, that was a surprise to everybody, and those truckers typically operate like that. They, those guys need to come and go, and they typically choose to beg for forgiveness rather than ask for permission in those circumstances.
If this happens, again, we can let BC know that we'll just have your folks intervene
Okay.
and just say, stop,
Yeah.
get out,
Okay.
and that stops it.
Oh yeah, the early, absolutely.
Because
When
we
I,
can't-
once
we can't
again,
be
that's
bothered
yeah,
with
when I
it.
talked to Chris about that, he was very receptive. He was fine.
He's and he is, and BC is, and,
Yep.
but they also don't control all the people that
Right.
come and go.
Right.
But if there's any
Exactly.
issue, just have your folks stop them.
And in this
They'll listen
instance-
to you guys.
And in this instance, yes,
Yep.
those involved, the perpetrators were acting really outside of.
Yeah, and they know it, it's
outside
not
of-
news to them.
They do it every day,
Yep.
that's,
I mean, if it's an industrial park construction site,
Yep.
who cares? But you're in the
That's right.
neighborhood. I mean, these people work.
And they know the rules.
Yeah.
So-
Right, and they know the rules.
All right.
Yep, they do.
And, for the record, Pelchat and crew, the regulars, are very respectful, know the drill, don't even walk onto the site really and turn a key in a rig before 7:05. So, they're good, they're good to work.
I don't think it's going to be an ongoing issue, but I wanted to bring it up.
No, well, thank you, Mike. And what we can do is we'll ask Zell and BC just to respond. My experience is that if you're not doing blasting, having seismic control on site would almost be unheard of. I actually was there each day when Helical was doing their geopiers, and you could not feel any surface vibration now.
We
Certainly if you get down into live water,
we felt some vibration in the police station.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad, but we could feel. I knew the machine was working.
yeah.
Okay, that's interesting to hear. I was on site in close proximity to the rig for the majority of the processes, and I would have to say there was only really a half a dozen times when when I felt any vibration. I think that was our biggest takeaway. My goodness, there's no vibration.
Right.
I think you're right,
Some of
Dave,
these-
because it wasn't
to some of
constant
these
vibration
Once
throughout
in a
the
while,
day. It was
handful
every now
of
and then you're like,
Or
what the heck is that noise? And then you're like, oh yeah, it's a construction site.
So is this a pounding process or a drilling process?
Vibrating. It's
Well,
a
vibrates.
vibrator.
So when they probably hit something a little bit more resistant, is when you've heard.
Yeah, there were a couple of holes where they, for 3 or 4 minutes, they would hit an object until it either vibrated out of the way.
Persuaded out of the way.
Yeah, but
Alright, so I will, when I
we'll
respond to.
follow up on that,
Yeah.
Mike, and we'll get back. We'll just notify the contractor,
Okay,
okay, at our next meeting.
alright. Thank you. That's all I
Alright.
have.
Okay. Martha, any questions or comments you'd like to add?
No, I don't think so, thanks.
Okay, Eric, how about yourself?
Nope, great job keeping things going, Bob. I'm good.
Okay. Zell, how about yourself?
Yep, I'm fine. Okay.
Okay, Dave, why don't we circle back to you? And I know I'm very curious on the testing of the geopiers that went on yesterday. Walk us through that, it's,
So, good results back in two directions. The 7-day breaks on the cylinder tests were 4475 and almost 4800, almost 4900.
and 4,000 PSI
4,000
is
was
design.
the design criteria.
Okay.
So we've surpassed that.
Great,
And we got that information at the very end of the day. The second test that occurred yesterday was the modulus test, which was interesting to watch. It's a slow process, but they physically loaded the test geopier to 200% of its design capacity, left it that way for about a half an hour. It took most of the day to pressurize that, to basically jack up that steel I-beam in place on top of the geopier to where it was exerting 200% of the design criteria force, and then back it off. Basically taking, McPhail had our geo technical engineers had a representative on site for the entire process, which was about 10 hours from start to breakdown. And so they monitored it basically on a 15-minute basis on the way up, and then like a 5-minute basis as they ratcheted the pressure back off of it. So that was completely successful.
okay. I would think that there would be a confirming written report
Yeah.
by McPhail on that. Would that be correct, Sal?
Yeah, they'll probably, write something. If they don't, I think,
Or helical?
Helical,
Yeah,
or both.
helical.
What was the engineer, right?
Okay.
Yeah, helical.
Well, when that surfaces, if someone could send that to my attention, I want to make that part of the record for, the obvious. Steve, any questions?
No, all set, thank you.
All right, thank you, everyone, and we're going to adjourn. Motion to adjourn,
Make a motion that we adjourn this meeting?
second?
Second.
Okay, roll call, Bob Connors, yes.
John Keller, yes.
Mike Riley, yes.
Martha Taylor, yes.
Eric?
Eric is moving for reconsideration. We have a quorum.
I think he hung up.
Okay. All right, thank you, everyone.